Noel Nation, welcome into another episode of the Renegade Rundown with your host, yours truly, George Georgitis, aka Renegade Report One on X. I've got my co-host with me at Deshawn Adams 18. You can find him as well. As you can tell, there is a beautiful blonde lady missing from this portrait. She was at the pool with the babies all weekend, unwinding, celebrating the men in her life for Father's Day, like we all were. And we had a little bit of a miscommunication. I think I told her 7 Central instead of 7 Eastern. So you'll be here in a little bit. But yeah, that one's on me. We just glad to have you in here after a beautiful Noles victory. And we find out, a lot of times they say the ball don't lie. Well, the ball didn't lie today. Our guy Jaime Ferrer goes out there and drives 2 more bombs out of the park. If you're new to the channel, we are FSU football and recruiting. That is what we do 99.999% of the time. We hardly cover baseball, but getting into the College World Series with everything going on, as much as I tried to resist, I fell in love with this baseball team little bit by little bit. Now I'm 100% in. And as long as they're in the College World Series, we're going to give you updates and let folks know about what's going on. Mr. Dorsey, Carson Dorsey, pitches a freaking gem. He was at like 42 pitches through 4 innings. What was your first thoughts, man? How did you enjoy that game today?
He was on his game. Breaking down the game, just looking at it, man, it was 2 players that really powered him to that 7-3 victory. It was Dorsey's pitching. He was responsible for 7 strikeouts. His ERA was 4.6. Pitched 7 innings though, and they were strong. Kind of tailed off a little bit at the end with giving up those runs. And then Jaime pretty much was responsible for 4 runs of the 7. 2 for 4. Batting average was 324, and he hit 2 dingers. So, I mean, outside of Dinges getting the hit, you had Cam Smith. You had production there. It's baseball, so 1 hit, 2 hits is going to be solid, man. But to get 2 other homers from Lodesy and
I was just wanting your first thoughts. We can throw the box score up there and go through the whole game. I was just kind of wondering what your first impression was coming off the game. But yeah, a lot like mine. So if you had that ready, you want me to go ahead and pull that up?
Yeah.
Cool. We can add that to the stage and go through it and continue, man.
Yeah, as I was saying, it was Lodesy powered with a home run also was responsible. And as you see, Ferrer, Ferrer, forgive me for the name.
Jaime Ferrer, man. It's all right, man. He's cool.
2 home runs,
I keep
4
saying
RBIs, man. 4 RBIs. I mean, he was responsible for it. He just was on today. And to be able to get that production when it wasn't your Cam Smiths, your Dinges, or your Mr. Tibbs, it just shows some of the depth that Link has put together, and it's only going to get better. This is just year 2 of Link's era, and we're already rolling and then back where we belong and looking to stay. And I really just like it. I like where the team is going.
You hit the nail on the head there with part of the thing that stood out to me. Lodice went deep. He hit one like 420 when your 8th hole is like smashing. That is a good freaking sign. And the same thing, Arnold comes out against Tennessee. Wasn't his best outing ever. It's not like he gave up a ton of runs, though, still, for how Florida State's been scoring in this tournament. Florida State scored plenty enough to win off Arnold. We won't go down that road. But yeah, to see him come out there and just put an absolute show on display, I was honestly a bit surprised. Didn't watch too much baseball this year, like I said. But honestly, as much shit as FSU's pitching has took, Virginia's ERA going into the game, I think they were like closer to 5. Something like 4.95 ERA for the year, and Florida State's was under 4. So maybe a little bit. The Florida State pitching staff maybe takes a little bit more flack than they deserve. But it pretty much comes down to that, that bullpen, and they're going to figure it out though. I was really, really pessimistic on it, like a possibility of winning 3-4 games and coming out of this losers bracket. But after seeing the Noles play today, like they didn't hang their head. Those bats are still on fire. You hit the nail on the head. Even though Cam Smith and Tibbs didn't have their absolutely best game ever, you got Ferrer hitting 2 shots, Lodice going hit defense. The defense was like a complete 180 for the whole game. Beautiful thing to see them Noles. I was pretty hyped about it.
Yeah, man. Without a doubt, it's going to be interesting now to see this game coming up with North Carolina and Tennessee to see who we will have to play in that bracket. So I'm very interested to see. But like you said, the arms, going back to the arms, man, the arms will carry the team because the bats are there. You score 18 runs in 2 games. You can't ask for anything else. And they've been hot since they've been in Omaha. So it's not like they haven't been able to put up points. It's just some inconsistencies at time with the pitching. When that gets nailed down consistently, man, look out in the future for in the long run for the program.
Facts. Without a doubt. That bullpen, I mean, just what they did with the whole team, pretty much you go 23 wins last year. You double it up to 46. Now you're going 47, 48. You're going up on the line. You got a chance to clear 50 wins if you can make it through the losers bracket. If he did that in 1 year with these transfers and things after a bad year, after a 23-win year, what the hell is he going to be able to do in the transfer portal this year? That's why I saw people talking about that, and it's like, I was blown away. I thought the transfer portal was 99.9% football. I did not realize the impact, but you brought up transfers there. Holy crap. I don't have a list of exactly who are transfers on the team, but quite a bit. I believe 8 or 9 transfers, they said, have played a role on this team this year.
Yep.
It's a beautiful thing. Jamie Arnold, you got him coming back for another year, if I'm not mistaken. Again, we're not going to talk about baseball forever, but there is a lot of interesting stuff.
One more thing to add, there's no Cam Leiter right now either. He's been injured majority of the season. It's another arm that you're missing that would have definitely have a huge impact on the series. I believe it would have been a bigger impact on that Tennessee game too, having him available. But the possibilities, if these guys decide not to go for the draft, next year's team could be one hell of a year.
Steven Vasquez says we are butchering the names. My bad, man. My bad. If you hear us mess up, spell it out for us and we will fix it. We don't claim to be absolute professionals. We have not been covering this thing from top to bottom all year. But yeah, that's our fault if we missed one. But Jaime Ferrer, James Tibbs, Lodice. That's what they pronounced it on TV. Did I say that one right? We've got a lot of names. If you just saw the football names, like half of what me and Deshawn and Jen do is like, how do you pronounce this name? How do you pronounce that name? I mean, our quarterback's name is DJ Uiagalelei. Like, there's only so much true names. But is there anything else on baseball that sticks out? I think I've about got my spill. I don't have anything. I don't know if there's any good questions in there or not. I saw JD Drew up there hanging out. I saw he was pretty happy about the win. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And to just whoop Virginia. Pretty good. So before we move on, we're down to 7. Okay. 7 teams left. Florida State's one of them. So at least we weren't the first team put out of Omaha. North Carolina is going to play Tennessee. And then we will get the loser of that game. Beat them once, and then we're gonna have to beat Tennessee twice again. So if we can win, like, it's good. We're getting our shot at redemption. And I got to tell you, it all worked. Like, I'm worried about how the arms work out. I'm not sure what the gap is between the loser bracket games and you play the actual 2 games. I don't think it's much, but I think I'm not trying to get in Link Jarrett's mind here, but I think Link Jarrett's thinking by sending Jamie Arnold out first in the College World Series was just to get him back as soon as possible. So I don't know if Arnold ends up, you end up using Arnold, tomorrow, the next game, or if they hold him. I'm not sure how that works. But if we can have our, man, I am drooling for a rematch with Tennessee. And just, if we could have Arnold set up and then Dorsey coming back behind him, if you can get back to the front of the order, if you will. I think we're the best, like, whatever, people are going to say I'm crazy. I think we might be the best team in the tournament. Like, I legitimately think that we're one of the best, if anything, one of the better hitting teams in the tournament. The only thing we don't have is that Christian Moore kid from Clemson. Or from Tennessee, excuse me. I will give them that. That dude is a freaking beast. He's probably the best player in the whole tournament. But yeah, I think outside of that, you said it. I think we averaged 11 8-point runs per game before today. So drop it down. We're probably averaging, 11 games in the tournament, something like 10 runs in the College World Series. Good stuff.
I think we play Tuesday. I think Tuesday is the scheduled game against.
They've been nailing our schedule.
Yeah.
Friday, Sunday, Tuesday. It's like,
Yeah.
geez, you got to schedule around it, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
It is what it is. But I guess we can move on to some recruiting. I'm not sure. You guys will have to let us know. I don't know if you guys out there care or follow FSU football recruiting or not, but we might as well. We might as well go ahead and talk about it a little bit. Big time recruiting weekend in Florida State, in Tallahassee, at Florida State. Some big names on campus, some commits, maybe looking to do a little flipping action, a little flip watch. This isn't the penultimate weekend, guys. That pretty much the penultimate week starts now, being Sunday is the first day of the week. It's going to be this Friday, this Saturday, this Sunday coming up. Those are going to be the biggest days. But make no mistake, we had a big weekend this weekend. We had an individual camp today with like 500 high schoolers there. We've got official visits lined up during the week one in particular we're going to get on to later that my guy Deshawn is a big fan of. So it's like we're almost to the climax, but shit is getting really serious. You're seeing a lot of different all whites, little turquoise and whites, different uniform combinations, all kind of fun stuff to speculate on. But we can start, I guess, with Justice Terry, unless you had something from the outset, overall to speak on before we get going.
No, have nothing. This is a guy particularly that I'm interested in checking out. He's about 40 minutes from where I live, so I will be visiting to go see a game to see him play this year. But I'll go ahead and let his video highlights roll. He's out of Manchester High School in Manchester, Georgia. That's maybe about 40 minutes south of Atlanta and 40 minutes north of where I live in Columbus, Georgia. Defensive tackle. Currently committed to USC. There's a lot of talk that he may flip, and if he does, it's possibly Georgia. The in-state school is starting to turn up the heat for him. We do have a shot though. He visited. If you get him on campus, as they say, follow the visit. So we have to see going down the road how much impact this visit this weekend played in his return and the opening possibilities for it.
Facts. This is one that I've been, openly skeptical of because there's the USC thing and then there's the Georgia thing. Like you mentioned, he's the number 3 player in Georgia, the number 2 defensive line in the nation, if I'm not mistaken, the number 12 player overall. If you go by the 247 composite, he's a 5-star. But yeah, I agree with you. I think he flips from USC regardless. I don't know what the percentages are, whether it's Florida State or Georgia, but I do know he looked damn fine in that all-white uniform.
Yeah.
I know he had Odell, he had Pap, I believe, and he had Fuller, all in his picture. Seems like the official visit went great, went like gangbusters. We've talked about, is the all-white kind of like the unofficial, whatever, silent? Is that like the top thing you're looking for? I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's all white anymore or a mix. I think as hot as the new turquoise uniforms, I'm going to leave you there where I said on the last episode, I feel like maybe it's a combination of the turquoise and white, but nonetheless, he had the all whites on, which you don't just get for nothing. No little, you don't just get to throw those on. And yeah, I'm slowly but surely confidence climbing on Justice Terry. When you kind of see he keeps coming on campus, the smiles and stuff. So we'll see on that. Do you have anything else, any inside intel, any thoughts on him?
No inside intel. Just looking at the film, though, he's very disruptive. That's the first thing I noticed just glancing. And when I watched the film, he is disruptive at his position at defensive tackle. Could slide out a little bit at times and play. He does it in high school, a strong side. But he's a position player, a player at a position of need. One of the top at his position in the country. I would love to have him, and I'm definitely gonna go check him out this year. Go see him in person.
Absolutely. You got to share some of that film with me, and I'll do the same when I film these guys over here at Tate High School and Escambia High School and all that stuff for sure for you. As my beautiful and amazing co-host, Jen Santee, joins the show. I'll bring down the highlight as we get ready for the next player and say hello. Give Jen a second. What are your thoughts? Did you get to see some of the baseball game? Did you just get to hear about it? I know you're at the pool.
Yeah, I mean, I was listening to it in the background, so I mean, I'm really happy
Got a
about it.
demon.
After that letdown on Friday, we needed that. So,
Jen, you got a
you know.
demon. I'm
Oh,
so
do I?
sorry.
Okay, I'll get out.
Yeah,
I'll be right back.
Jen will be right back. There's something with StreamYard every once in a while when you add a person, they get a little demon in there.
Yeah.
And it seems like it only happens to Jen for some reason on our show, but yeah, we will get the rest of her on that. Boom. So about the ball game.
Let's see.
Jen?
Is that better? Is that better?
Yep.
Okay, perfect.
I'll tell you if it's better. You're good.
Yeah, no, I was just I was really happy about that win. We needed that win, and they looked really good. They looked really good. So,
You get to watch?
I listened to it in the background. So
Jen has a whole what's the word? If you're a sports person, a baseball person, a football person, everybody kind of has their superstitions. I haven't figured out exactly what Jen's is, but she does have. She watches apps. Everybody has their thing. I think what I have done though, I have figured out my way to watch FSU football today for that game without having cardiac arrest and just like my head popping off and wearing a hole in my carpet, doing circles. I put the game on and I just muted it. I didn't listen to any of the assholes talking, just muted it, and I put me on a television show to like just listen. I'm hardly watching it. I didn't even finish one episode. I have to keep running it back, but that's how I did it. Watching the ball game, but listening to, and it was great. It was like if the game pissed me off, I would just look at my show. So,
well, my
we were
unfortunate
talking about it
tradition,
earlier,
my
Go ahead.
tradition for football is after every score, and I started this in 2013, I would take a fireball shot until they lost the game, right?
Now
So
there's
in
the
2013, yeah, in 2013, this was a rough year for me. This was very rough. Maybe for my liver, I think that was like probably. And I mean, like after every score, I do allow myself for field goals to take a half a shot, but like in that 2013 year, this was getting rough. So when they lost, let's see, who did they lose to? Obviously not in 2022. They had what they lost to like Wake. After that streak, I was like, let me pick this up again. After the next game, if they score, I'm gonna take a shot, right? I'm gonna back up my 2013 tradition, and y'all, they didn't lose a game again until the Georgia game, until that bullshit game. I'm telling you,
we might have to restart it for this year.
Yeah. So yeah, during in-game years, I guess that's going to be the tradition. And then I have to watch when they get on defense on like Twitter. I can't watch it on the TV. Can't watch it. Yeah.
I don't blame you. That was that game the other day, and even the game before it against UConn. Like something about baseball, college baseball, with all the offense, especially, it's just the most nerve-wracking game ever. It was so nice. Also, part of it was just being the home team today made it easier. But anyways, we were getting into recruiting. We had just talked about our first.
I know. I was listening. Y'all get back to it. I didn't mean to cut y'all in. I apologize. I got lost on the clock on the grill. So
we were talking about
fresh off the grill. Jen is what you're getting.
Fresh off the grill. She was playing dad for Father's Day so that men around her could relax and hanging out with the kiddies, and we're sure happy. But yeah, we just got into recruiting. We just got through talking about Justice Terry. We're going to get into Khalik Lockett. Will be our next high school recruit to talk about. Another 5-star on campus for an official visit this weekend. Overall, he is the number 11 player according to the 247 composite, the number 2 wide receiver in the nation, and again, the number 4 team in the state of Texas. If you pay attention as I go through all these, you'll notice that I'm listing where these people rank in their states, and that's going to be important at the end. I've got a whole rant and a whole thing to talk about at the end, but just pay attention to where these guys are ranked. Khalik Lockett, he's kind of like the JoJo Trader of last class that we didn't get. It would be really nice to get somebody like this, a 5-star, been that dude. He's from Texas, like Ty Haywood and a couple other guys. But what's your first thoughts? How are you feeling about my guy Khalik Lockett as y'all watching the mouse people right here on the huddle tape?
He is the goods. I mean, you got 4 elite level wide receivers right now that I would say are the top 4 wide receivers, and he's one of them. It's DeCorian Moore, Jamie French, Him and I can't remember the other guy. I'll come up with it. Oh, Burnell Brown. That's another one of the ones that we're trying to recruit. But in particularly Khalid Lockett, high points to ball, really good. Reminds me a little bit of your Jefferson kind of receiver. Go over the middle, has the ability to control his body control.
Ooh, that is
Really
a good
well.
comp.
Yeah,
That is a good comp.
body control, really good with high pointing the ball. Absolutely at 6'2", 175, 180, one of the best players overall in the country, if not the best, the second best wide receiver, I'd say, behind Decorian Moore.
Yeah, I agree. I know you don't get as specific on the recruiting and stuff, but this is another Texas kid. Like I was saying earlier, Jen, what's your opinion on the staff? You know, they've really they're not scared to go out and more, especially this class, they're going after a lot of these top Texas guys and stuff. Do you think that's a negative, like some people think, or do you think it's a bold move and a smart move, like I do?
Well, I don't know how going after more players who you would think are out of your league is a bad move unless you're wasting time. And I don't know that this staff really does anything if they really believe they're wasting time. I think they would have some sort of inkling to make them continue on that pursuit. So I don't think that they're just doing it for the clicks and the show ups at the camps. I just don't. Knowing how Norvell is, I don't think he would want people to be wasting their time like that. So I think it's a bold move. Let's see how it works out. You know how I am on recruiting. Wake me when it's over. Wake me when they sign. I love it too, guys. I am not like frowning on anybody who loves recruiting. Believe me, I love it too. It's gotten so weird with the way things are now. It's just hard to keep any sort of control on it until really it's over. You really don't know. Again, a kid will be like, look, I'm here with my grandma. We're moving in on Monday, and then go to a different school. And that's normal. This is what it is. So
Hey, you're absolutely right. It's the new normal, you know.
yeah, so I guess the answer to my question was I don't think they'll be wasting their time. I think it's a good move because obviously they've had an inkling that there's a reason they should go after him, is where I would go.
For sure. I agree 100%. I mean, he's the number 4 player in Texas. Another part of this recruiting deal is, hey, we've said it a million times, just because you don't get him initially,
Right.
fella might be transferring a year or two down the road. But yeah, when it comes to evaluations, and I'll give you a chance to answer this too, Deshawn, when you talk about national recruiting, spreading guys out too thin, whatever the case may be, the staff took a lot of, shit for not hiring all Florida coaches and all these things. I think with this staff, their ability to evaluate, bar none across the country, I trust it 100% implicitly. And also the fact, like Jen said, as long as they're not wasting time, I truly believe they are not wasting time.
Yeah.
Because I trust this staff. I'll pass it off to you on this one. My take on it is like, if they trust the kid, if they're willing to spend the time and all that, then they're not wasting their time. Like, the guys they get stick, they don't get, like, they're so particular about not kissing ass and, setting a new market on NIL deals. I love it. I'm all for these Texas guys and recruiting nationally. Like, yeah, we're gonna read off a lot of more Florida, Georgia names. That's where, kind of like high school, you want to be 60% and the portal closer to 30-40%. Same thing. I want 80% of my players to come from Florida and Georgia, but give me 5 or 6 from across the country. That's fine too, every single year.
Yeah, eventually every program does this. We've seen in the past, Florida State did it under Bowden, did it under Jimbo, Alabama did it under Saban. The top programs do this. Cast their net wide. You keep your base and your pipeline, which Florida State's is Florida and mostly South Georgia. But then you cast your net wide and you look for the best talent in each individual state that you want to establish a pipeline, or did you have an out-of-state pipeline for? So Florida State's history has been Virginia, South Carolina, Mississippi, some in Alabama here and there, and definitely, like I said, Georgia, outside of the state of Florida. So, I mean, with Khalid Lockett being where he is, and who we're going to have to battle for, Texas. Texas is high on that list. but to just get your foot in the door, and like you said, if he decides to go to Texas, and if he decides to hit the portal, that relationship always plays a part.
100%. And again, they're not going after scrubs.
No,
Like they're not going to Texas or Missouri or anywhere else to sign some project and things like that for the most part. So that's it on Khalid Lockett. Really, really pumped. So yeah, we'll see where that one goes. But I really think that he can. We can end up having a good chance on him. The next guy I have written down, I'm not even going to try and pronounce it. His nickname is Booby. He's an LSU commit. DeBory Anton or
Yeah.
Anton.
you got it right.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
DeBory. It's DeBory.
4-star cornerback. He's the number 136 overall player according to the 247 composite. The number 17 cornerback in America, and again, the number 3 player in Louisiana. I said, like I said, he's an LSU commit, but big time visit. I believe you had a turquoise top with white bottom.
Yeah.
The photo shoot, everything, and I think you might have a little bit of insight here that you could share. How are you feeling, Deshawn, on Jabari Anton, aka Booby?
I put it this way: I like the connections that the Yak has and Certain has in the state of Louisiana. It gets us. That's another state that I didn't mention when I was talking about casting a net. That we have a lot of history with that state also, and being able to get good prospects out of it. Booby is just another one. I think he's on SFE 707. They just recently won a 707 tournament, the 707 tournament. One of our commits, Tramel Jones, is a quarterback. Jamie French. You got a lot of players on there, and he's one of them that is a playmaker. I can go ahead and get his film started when you're ready.
Oh, my bad.
Bring it up.
Just let me know. I'm sleeping sometimes, but
you good, man.
But yeah, we got his film up here. And for people that don't know, SFE, that's South Florida Express. Coach Dirt, like the dude, he's bringing loads of guys all over the country. He every year has some of the best wide receivers. Always has a good quarterback. Tramel Jones, our quarterback. He's a player on SFE, and like our guy said, him and Jamie French just destroying. They won. What was the thing? It wasn't OT7. It was a different one that they won, a big time tournament, or was it OT7?
I'm not sure. I can't remember the name. It may be OT7, but it is the actual 707 big tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Big
dominated.
Yeah, they dominated that. But as you see here, just his matchups. He play corner. Of course, in high school they're going to play both sides of the ball. The footage is a little shaky. I think this is just 8 months ago, so this is his junior highlight tape, his junior film this recent past season. Another one of those long cornerbacks. We know Certain's type. We've mentioned it several times. Anyone who follows recruiting knows if it comes to the defensive back position, in particular the corner, Certain is looking for 6 foot and up, particularly. That's his type. Yeah. Safeties, they kind of vary, but at corner, he likes long arms, lanky, and can cover a lot of ground.
For sure, 100%. And a lot of people, when it comes to SFE, South Florida Express, these 7-on things, like wide receivers, they get all the hype. Quarterbacks get all the hype because that's just the nature of it. But people don't realize a lot of the top linebackers, cornerbacks and things, they end up playing in these things as well. Like if you look at Ohio State and like all the crazy recruits, they've got I forget what it was. SFE put up a graphic where it's like 6 of the top 8 wide receiver corners of some certain category were all SFE guys. So
yes,
pretty amazing. So shouts out to what they do. They get an amazing group together. And yeah, we're going to be recruiting a couple of those guys every single year. What's his name? Brian Hartline up there at Ohio State. That's why I want him to quit. I want him to run away. We're trying to get Jen to figure out something. Have you found out a place to relocate Brian Hartline again?
I mean, I thought I did, but he didn't want it, so I don't know what else to do. Yeah,
that son of a gun. So what do you think? What's your prediction? You think we get the flip?
For me, I'm not sure. I'd say wait a couple of months and let's just see how things play out. We know LSU has a return of what's the defensive back coach's name? that was at Florida, was at LSU, went to
Corey
Florida.
Raymond.
Yeah, Corey Raymond. Thank you.
They got Corey Raymond back.
Yeah, he's back. So that's
all of a sudden he can recruit again now.
Yeah.
Isn't it weird how that shit works?
Yeah, exactly. Not only recruit, but we'll probably find out he can coach again. You know, basically saying it may not just be him.
I don't know. Brian Kelly will have something to say to ruin that. I can promise you that. I can almost promise that. He loves to ruin defenses. I know he's an offensive coach, but let me tell you something. He loves to get in there and tell that defensive coordinator, "Hold on, here's what you got to do." And guess what? He can't win any big games. There's another big stunner out of Brian Kelly. I know I'm not breaking news here.
They signed 4 DBs, 5 DBs, whatever it was, 6 DBs last year. I think it was 4 just out of the portal or something like that. Like, it was obvious they needed help there. Like, that was an obvious thing. But he signs all these guys, and none of them were worth a damn. They got hurt, or they just weren't any good, didn't see the field, left the program, all these things. It totally, so now he's got this kind of attitude. I seen one of Brian Kelly's interviews where he basically said that. He's like, well, you can't. He was talking about the defensive lineman that he ended up getting when they were giving him a hard time for not bringing in portal D linemen. He's like, well, we brought in 6 DBs last year, and look what it did. No good. It's just like, yeah, that's because you picked terrible ones. But we all saw that from the outset. You got these guys who were 5 stars, then showed up at Texas A&M and just obviously was a shithead or whatever the case may be. I'm not going to call out any names, but we all looked at that list and said, there's some talent here, but this ain't going to work out for him. And sure enough, it didn't. So, yeah, I tend to agree with that. So we'll see how Corey Raymond does for LSU. He's been around for everywhere. Like, he's not an idiot. He knows how to do it. But, yeah, if somebody's going to, we'll see.
So, like, my theory with Brian Kelly is I always feel like he does this to his defensive coaches. I feel like he does this and it's to cover for his ineptitude on the offense that he's got going on. And I think he starts planting the seeds early. If you remember last year when he started planting those seeds early with how that defense was going to look, remember that even before the Florida State game, even though his offense was like one of the best. And I think he does this to kind of get people ready so that if they make mistakes, he can be like, well, they can't play defense too. I swear to you, he's done this at Notre Dame. He did it for years. And I feel like the fact that LSU's defense was as sorry as it was is a borderline crime. So I don't really know what's going on there. And if this kid flips, hey, I'd be happy. It wouldn't surprise me considering this is where I was kind of going with it. It wouldn't surprise me considering how badly the head coach talks about that defense and all the things that he does. It wouldn't surprise me. That's where I would go with that.
Boom. You heard it here first. My family and all that stuff. It's going to flip him. It's going to push him out. People are getting on Eli Drinkwitz's head about the guitar thing, saying that was worse than Brian Kelly's weird family and all the weird
Nothing is worse than that.
I totally disagree. I thought that was I didn't think that was nerdy at all. Maybe I'm a nerd. Compared to that family and all that stuff, I thought party like
that made all of Dabo's cringe moments go like, hold my beer. You know what I mean? Like, that was at the top of the list. I don't think I've ever. The only thing that I think could probably go on par with that might be when Jimbo had to pet that dog. Do you remember that? I don't know. To me, Jimbo having to pet that dog with that woman doing that dance in front of him where he was like, holy shit, I've joined the cult, right? That look on his face was so priceless. Even the dog was scared. So I don't know. I still would put family and all that crap in front of that because Jimbo's at least Southern and he could pull it off. Brian Kelly, this was a mess. That was a mess when he did that. It was so bad. And the fact that First Take led with it tells you how bad it was. That tells you how bad it was.
Right. Spear Addicts Media, our guy Chris. Happy Father's Day to the man. I haven't even told Deshawn Happy Father's Day on air. I just realized that. Happy Father's Day,
Deshawn.
Thank you.
Happy Father's Day to Spear Addicts. He said, "What's up, George?
Happy Father's Day, Chris, for sure.
We appreciate you joining us.
Happy Father's Day, Chris."
Absolutely. He's got I don't even want to say it. I'm not going to say it. Chris is pretty personal, but he is a father, and he's an amazing one, and I love him. I love his wife. They're great. So we appreciate you for joining us, and the same thing for Deshawn and Jen. She gets Mother's Day and Father's Day because she's that amazing. But we'll go on to the next recruit, Jordan Young, a name that should sound familiar to Florida State fans. We had a guy with the same name we called Abusement Park. That one did not quite work out for whatever reason. We'll just say that the previous staff was not near as good at evaluating talent as Mike Norvell and Derek Ray in the gang. So Jordan Young, this one pretty much comes down to Clemson or FSU is what it looks like. FSU, this steady, getting in there. 4-star safety, number 128 overall, number 12 safety in the nation, number 4 in North Carolina, if I'm not mistaken on that. Where are you at on Jordan Young, my friend?
Well, looking at his film as I bring it up here, he plays both corner, safety, kind of wide receiver also. So you're seeing more wide receiver film. That tells me that when he moves to DB, he'll be able to translate more of a ball hawking type of defensive back because he'll have the ability to naturally play the ball in the air, high point, playing contested catches against the wide receivers with his ability to play wide receiver. He gets downhill here, playmaker. That's what I see him as, a ball hawking type safety.
I had to jump out and jump back in. Hopefully that fixed the crackles in the mic there.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely a ball tracking safety. Well, how tall is he? I don't have his measurements.
6 foot, 184 is what he's listed at. So I'm looking at him easily. He could be 6 foot 205, free safety kind of range rover kind of safety. Play the middle of the field. That too high safety look. I see him as a guy just because of his wide receiver skill could play the ball really well in the secondary.
Yeah. You spoke on it earlier about Pat Surtain. Like, he really wants his corners and safeties a particular height, like especially corners. He really has not been in on corners. They need to be over 6 foot. I don't know if he signed a single corner under 6 foot since he's been here. Not that it's been a long time. Safeties, same thing. He wants them even taller than the corners. I think it's that 6'2", 6'5" range, but there's way more wiggle room in my opinion. You see a Ladarian Clarity, who were after my guy from Pensacola, who was just on the official visit. You see this guy, Jordan Young. So, yeah, it's a little bit more wiggle room with the safeties. And, yeah, I'm a big fan. It's so hard, like, recruiting against Clemson and Dabo Swinney. It's like, really and truly, as far as a kid going into a program and kind of the morals and what you represent, outside of the bullshit that's said on the podium, like, I can trust pretty much any guy that Dabo's recruiting. Like, I feel like there is a similarity in the type of guys you bring in. There's a difference opinion on, flipping the roster and things like that. But for the most part, this is, if you're in a battle with Clemson with a safety, he's probably pretty damn good.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think with Dabo, as much as we like to make fun of him, they vet those kids. I'm not saying that I want to get into a pissing match with them as far as two players that are on the top of their board because, Clemson will tell them, if you don't commit to us right now, we're going to pull your offer. So I don't know that I want to put it in that boat, but like, if Clemson is after a kid, yeah, absolutely, because that kid's been vetted, and I don't know if I'm putting this right. It's, that they did the research is done, especially if you compare it with Mike Norvell. If both coaches are going after a kid, I think that makes them you
trust their evals is what you're saying. Yeah, they evaluate well. So if he's interested and Clemson's interested in him, he's talented. And he has something to offer to their roster, and they're fitting their scheme. And I could see where he fits in our defensive scheme too, with the way we play our secondary.
Facts upon facts. And if you look at recent history, if you look at the draft, if you look at what we got coming back this year, you let the season play out. It's the reason they call FSU DBU. It's the reason recruits come here and post, that's the real DBU. Florida State, it's our year. It's our time. Clemson, they've had a good run. But, I think they really put the screws to this guy. We could get him, but it's going to be hard.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I'm not going to sit here and put out a prediction because I really don't have one. I know Clemson is on him super hard, and they get most of those guys from up there in North Carolina. But yeah, I have no problem with him spending a bunch of time and going for him. But if there's anything else on Jordan Young before we go past, speak now or forever hold your peace.
No, there's nothing left.
No, I would just say just that one point about going up against Clemson. If they're going after someone hard, it's going to be a hard row. You know, like we said, they make sure those kids get locked in quick, and they will pull the offer. They're very quick to do it. And this isn't a shade on them. This is how they've done it for years. This is just the way Dabo runs the program. It is what it is. And so it's hard to beat him out for kids that are his number ones because of that reason. So you don't get those second and third chances, and you don't get those in-home visits, and you don't get them to come back to your school. So that's a hard thing to do.
So Jen, we can't move on now because she made two really salient points right there. The first one, well, I'll do the one she just said. When he has his guy, when Dabo has his guy, he's not going to let him visit. It's over.
No.
So this just goes to show you he's still doing these official visits. He was just on campus. This thing is far from over with, and we do have a damn good shot. Now, what she also said, if he's number one on their board, and if they're going after these guys, it's hard to beat them. Well, there's a reason why. You know, just kind of like us, we don't take 30 guys every year. We take 18 to 25, whatever the case may be. We'll see. I'm thinking closer to 2022 this year. Clemson's the same way. For years and years, it's been 18, 22, 23, 24. They don't take all these guys like these SEC teams. So if you are number one, you're in the Carolinas, you got that offer, Clemson showing up, it's like Florida State if you live in Pensacola. It's just how it is. So yeah, I won't, we won't go too far. We've done enough, but we can move on to Malik Clark. And there's a common theme. I said I would get back to it. The first player I mentioned was number 3 in Georgia. The second player, number 4 in Texas. The next, number 3 in Louisiana. The next, number 4 in North Carolina. That takes us to Malik Clark, number 2 in the state of South Carolina, on campus for official visit. 4-star wide receiver, 209 overall, number 22 wide receiver in the country. His top 5 is Auburn, FSU, NC State, UNC, South Carolina. I look at that, and the only thing that worries me is Auburn. And South Carolina is not Alabama. Malik Clark, I know he's one that it's another one that not a lot of people are super, super confident on. But when I look at the competition, kind of like a lot of these kids we're battling Florida with, I have to like our chances.
Yeah, I like our chances here. The only battle I think would not be the schools. It's going to be the NIL. Because when you throw South Carolina, Auburn, those are 2 NIL bag players. So they'll do what they'll play the highest.
State as well.
Yeah. They will definitely not hesitate to throw the money out there to get a player like this in Malik Clark. I think he's listed as 6 foot also. Wide receiver, safety. Let's see what I got here. But as you see here, I'm just now seeing the film on this one. I hadn't seen any early film. I didn't watch anything here. But just another playmaker out of that state. I will add that he once again comes from a place that has been very good to Florida State, and that's Rock Hill, South Carolina. I think that's not near Charlotte. Where is it located? I just know we had a lot of good players come out of that area.
If I'm being honest, I don't know a single town in South Carolina. Charleston, I think I've heard of that.
Charleston, okay.
That's the only town I've heard of in South Carolina.
The last big name I remember out of Rock Hill that we got was Chris Hope. But we've had we've had a lot of players come out of that area. It used to be a regular place that Florida State would get players from. So to get this kid would be a little bit nostalgic, just particularly from that area. It's near Charlotte. Okay, thank you, Young Bleak. That's what I thought.
Chris Hope, man, people forget about him.
Yeah,
he was so
underrated in college, underrated in the NFL. Dude played safety for the Titans for what, a decade or longer?
Yeah.
Played for Pittsburgh too. So yeah,
great player in the pros.
Great pro. Had a long career.
What do you think, Jen? You have anything on Malik Clark?
No, I mean, No, like I said, I just, you look at them, and with the NIL, I would say for
Definitely.
me, I would look at Auburn and I would look at NC State for that
Mhm.
one. I don't know how high he is on Florida State's board right now. I think for Auburn, he's very, very high.
Mhm.
And, when that happens, they're just going to throw money after money. We know that Auburn loves to do that. And that's just a hard thing to beat.
Yeah. Now that's not indicative on him or his family.
No,
I'm talking about the
no,
schools themselves. They're money
absolutely.
players, so they'll
Yeah.
go out there and they'll be willing to
Yeah.
and spend on NIL for a situation just
Like
to
if it's,
get a
I
player.
mean, like when we talk about those 5-star players that are just 5-star players, that every school is going to throw all the money at, right? Then
Hmm.
every school has got the like even playing field. But these are what you consider, money bag players, like you said. These are going to
Hmm.
be high recruits for these classes,
Hmm.
that they wouldn't get on a normal basis, right? So they're
Hmm.
going to blow a lot, or not blow. I don't mean it that way, but they're going to throw a lot of money at these kids
Hmm.
to elevate their classes and to get these kids that they probably should have no business being in conversation with other than NIL. And this
Yeah.
has nothing to do with the kid's family. They live close. They clearly like the school. They're not going somewhere that they don't want to be at. But
Hmm.
when you get in these conversations right now with these types of players, with teams like NC State and Auburn, who really need to win these types of players and win those types of games, and they think these types of players will get them there, and maybe they will. I would go, maybe better coaching, but that's fine. I think that it's a hard battle for teams like Florida State, who could maybe get someone who's maybe at the same degree and not have to go into a bidding war with an Auburn. That's where I would go with that.
Yeah. I can agree.
It's fair, and we've talked about it ad nauseum. We are not going to get into these wars where we go pay double, triple, reset the
Yeah.
market. We're going to
Yeah,
Mhm.
pay.
Florida State's not going to do that. Auburn and NC State will. That's the thing.
Mhm.
That's where I was going with it.
You got to stop interrupting.
Mm,
All right. Yeah, we don't negotiate with terrorists, as one of those war chant people said. And I made fun of them for saying it, and now it's like my go-to slang that I go to. We're not gonna go crazy. We're not gonna overpay. We're gonna be competitive. But if it comes down to it, and that's gonna be his deciding factor, or he just decides being closer with home plus the money, whatever the case may be, we'll see. But I really do like him. I like his speed factor. I think
Mhm.
he's a guy that could come in and be like a Ja'Kai Douglas, not Ja'Kai Douglas. What am I thinking of? Our deep threat that we had in number 80 that I'm drawing up. Marion Cooper. I think he's
Not
somebody that
Mario Cooper. Sorry, but it's not a Mario
Ooh,
Cooper. You're talking about 2 years ago.
Ontario Wilson, for Pete's
Ontario
sake.
Wilson. There you
He could
go.
be somebody
Okay.
that comes in like Ontario Wilson,
Mhm.
and maybe even another level, play younger, to be that deep threat, that guy that can just click into another gear when you look at what people talk about with his speed and stuff. We'll have to get
Mhm.
him on campus and, whatever. We don't have a legitimate combine, but they talk about him being a 4.3 guy and a 10.2 100-meter guy, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, big time speed guy that I would love to have for
Yeah.
sure.
Let's see.
yeah, and the only other thing I would ask is, could this relationship, if maybe Florida State realizes they don't want to get into a bidding match, but Chris just put in the comments the relationship is strong, and I agree with that. I think it is strong. Could this be like a vying for when they transfer? Because if they go to NC State, they're going to transfer, right?
Mhm.
So is that what that in Auburn as well? So maybe that's what that is, and it wouldn't surprise me. I'm just saying I don't know that they're going to get into a bidding war right now. I mean, right at this point with this particular player that I don't know is at the top, like number one. You know what I mean?
Yeah. For
Mhm.
sure. Florida State, it doesn't matter who it is. They just don't get into bidding wars.
Yeah.
They're going to pay you close to the top what they kind of have on their board. I'm not saying they've never bumped nothing up a little bit, but when it gets down to a
Oh
bidding war,
yeah.
that's where Florida State's out. I don't think that's necessarily where we're at with that kid yet. But these other schools, like Jen pointed to, they're going to be the ones that are going to come with that bag. And he will have to, whatever. If it's something ridiculous and, whatever the going rate is or the top dollar we offer him ain't enough, then so be it. But it would be another great guy with a great relationship that you possibly could get the next year. You never know. Them NIL deals, all that stuff, that buys you the good grace for that NILI. As soon as that happens, that's it.
That's it.
So, and with the transfer rule, they can leave. But Deshawn, any thoughts before we move on from Mr. Klopp?
No, just as I've always said, the recruiting game is just that. It's been going on forever. So I mean, nothing's new under the sun. Basically, when you talk about the dark side, the side that's elevated to light that we can see, and then the underbelly of recruiting, it's always been there. So nothing we're seeing is new. It's just exposed now.
Facts on top of facts, and there's still the dark going on out there. It's just you can see more of that. You can finally see like the tip of the iceberg now. It's out in the open, but all the bullshit, oh man, I could have just only imagined. But the next guy we have on the list, actually, I think I about messed up. I think next is probably going to be a guy that was a bit of a surprise for me. I hadn't really been paying attention to the last couple of weeks. His name is Zadrius Rainey Sale. A 4-star linebacker, number 142 overall, number 17 linebacker in the nation, and the number 1 player in all of Washington State. So just to continue that trend, okay, he's from Washington, number 142 overall, number 1 player in his state. You saw him in the turquoise and the white, and the absolute cleanest combination that I've seen on these officials, like I said. Big time get if we can get him, if I'm not mistaken. What do you think, Deshawn?
He fits what the fan base has been clamoring for. High value, high rated at his position. Legit 6'2", 220-pounder right now. He's not undersized. He fits the mold of today's linebacker, and that would be one that I would say now. A lot of us look at it and we expect the linebackers to still be 6'4", 6'5", 250. That's not today's NFL pro or college linebacker. On average, are 6'1", maybe 215 to 220, at the max 230. We have to get out of the mode of today's game. Is not played the way it was yesteryear. So when
you have anything on him, I'm sorry.
Yeah, yes, I got
okay,
film.
my bad.
But bringing up here, striker, typical inside-outside linebacker, but he brings size and good speed. Once again, you add casting the net wide to find talent, because today's game is about talent acquisition. It isn't just about high school. It isn't just about the portal. It's always going to be a mix now, and that's today's college football recruiting. But getting into Zadarius, the biggest issue here, from what I've understood and heard, is just getting mom on board with distance. We're in the race. I believe UCLA, a lot of those West Coast universities are in on him deep. I'm not sure about Washington, but it's the distance. I don't think there's a problem with the school. It's just him being that far from home and risking homesick. Mom's not there. So we have to smooth that out. You smooth that out, I think we got a great chance to land this kid.
Here's what I want to comment on. You said it. You keep taking the words out of my mouth. I've given Randy Shannon a bit of shit. Less shit than a lot of people. But the joke is 6'1", 200, 6'1", 200, 6'1", 200. It seemed like for the first couple of years he was here, that is all he would offer. There'd be a 6'2", 230 guy that wants to be at Florida State in his dreams, but he don't get the offer. 6'3", 6'4". It just seems like that was it. That is prototype between 6'1", 6 foot and 6'2", 200 to 220 pounds, and that's all he was taking. And I'm looking at all these Cam Rileys and Sean Murphys around the country, these blue chip recruits and things like that, or just, linebackers of size that I've liked personally and wanted to have a mix. Like, I just want a mix. I want those guys, to have a mix. Well, I don't know if he's seen into the future. I don't know if it's something that's, steadily trended more to those size guys, those Kalen Loach type guys for the college game and even the NFL game at that linebacker position. It seems like just, like with a bunch of these different things that Mike Norvell and the staff has done, that Randy Shannon might have just been ahead of the curve. Because all of a sudden, when I'm looking at all these different blue chip linebackers in this class, they're all between 6 foot and 6'2", and they're all 200 to 220 pounds, and they're all here. So, Yeah, Randy Shannon, I just want to apologize to you for all the jokes and stuff that I've ever had. I'm so 100% bought in, recruiting the whole 9 yards. You're the man. I hope they keep you as long as we can.
Yep.
That's my thoughts on it.
I agree. Development is there. Recruiting to come.
I mean, will it come? I don't know. I think maybe with Ernie, I think that'll bring it around a bit for him, for at least his position recruiting. But I think Randy does a lot in the Miami area. We all know that. But for me, a team that just went 13-0, I'm not going to question how they coach, how they recruit. I'm going to wait until I see some things this year before I start breaking on that door, because if you look at it, they got so much better as each game went on. You never really saw a regression out of Mike Norvell teams. And I know what everybody wants to say about things and all the stuff about the 3-win season after COVID and all the things and the Jacksonville State, but you never saw regression after those games. You never saw that team get worse. He always got better. I've never questioned his coaching. I think sure, some recruiting things, you can raise an eyebrow too, but they went 13-0 even after he was questioned on his recruiting. So I'm going to give him this benefit of the doubt, and that's kind of where I land on that.
I love it. I think a lot of people agree with you. A lot of people. The next guy I got on the list is going to be Joshua Moore. Hakeem Williams hosted our guy for the official visit. 3-star wide receiver overall, number 195 in the nation, 24 at his position, and the number 28 player in the state of Florida. I'll let you go first on Joshua Moore. How you feeling about him, my guy?
You can bring that video up real quick for me. Yeah. What I'll say about Josh Moore to our viewers, I have shown him before. We put him up before. This is a guy I really like. I like this kid. He's underrated compared to his film and play. Definitely legitimate 6'3", 6'4" wide receiver at 195, 205. Can make the spectacular, acrobatic, high point play. He's not a burner, but not every receiver is. Development will be key here with his route running, but he looks like a strider that'll be able to definitely add to the blocking game. Of course, that's an expectation at FSU. Receivers have to block. But as far as his big playability, I think downfield, high pointed, contested shots is his type of game. He's a playmaker at that position, and I really think he's underrated, and I like him. I love to have him in the class.
Agreed. I agree 100 percentile. He's just another one of these guys you would really, really love to keep in state. This is, one of those guys that kind of I was talking about earlier. If he was in another state, FSU probably wouldn't be so hard on him. When you look at these, a lot of other guys that pretty much everybody I named, the big guys, or the guys they had on officials from other states and stuff, it's all top 5, top 10. This is the kind of guy. They've got a ton of tape. They've probably had him in camp a ton of times. They've got to talk to him. So, yeah, I'm all in. If they can get him in here, he would be a great pickup for us.
Yeah.
That's to the end, I believe, of what we have here as far as people that were on an official visit or at the camp. Before we move on, though, I definitely want to give you guys both a shot. If there's anything that I've missed, now's the time.
For me, I would add one more guy to let our viewers know about that I brought up to you. His name is Miriam Dye out of Elkhart, Indiana.
I knew I was forgetting something.
Defensive end, defensive lineman. Once again, I will add that we are casting a wide net. You keep your core players, you recruit your core players from your state, from your pipeline areas, and then you cast a net. Everybody else does it. Florida State can do it. We're a brand that means something. So why couldn't we go national? The time is now. I don't disagree with it. As long as they're understanding what they want to do with their resources and how much they want to invest in an out-of-state player that isn't in their pipeline region, I don't see no problem with it. Going into Indiana, the interesting part is I didn't see Notre Dame on the list, but like Purdue's, your typical Big Ten schools are in on him. He's a legit 6'5", 270 inside-outside player, can slide in and play 3 technique and play outside.
Yeah.
I love his film. They actually, I believe, stand him up sometimes too.
Wow. I didn't realize he was 270 when I was looking at him earlier.
Make sure
Because this is another one that I was kind of behind on, but just to round it out, prove the point I've been telling you guys. 150 nationally, number 14 edge in the nation, and the number 3 player in the state of Indiana.
They stand him up a lot, man. I like how he can play off the edge.
Yeah, that's what's surprising, because with his athleticism and what he does, you look down and you see the 6'5", and I was expecting to see 230, 240. Somebody like a Patrick Payton type, weak side defensive end. But then I seen that freaking 270. I'm like,
yeah,
wow. Through the roof. This is like, this guy, how did he end up in Indiana? It's like, we got to get the story on this. But yeah, if Florida State is chasing this guy, looking at the measurables, this guy could get to Florida State and be an absolute freak. I will definitely have to do my research on him, but I know he's high on Florida State. He's got Florida State, Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State. He's got all the usual suspects.
Yes.
Purdue, I don't think Purdue's going to get lucky, but
it might surprise you. You never know, especially being from Elkhart. Could be some pressure to stay home.
Now, was he here this weekend or not?
No, he's coming Tuesday. He's
right.
supposed to be with the 18th recruiting visit, so he'll be here this week.
On his coming Tuesday.
Yeah,
and a big damn target, a big one.
Yeah.
The point I was getting to about calling out all these different number 1 in Washington, number 1 in Alabama, number 2 here, number 3 there. If you guys will remember back, and I know we've got some people my age and older, we're not a bunch of babies in this chat and in this podcast. Jimbo Fisher, when he first got here, of course, he got here in 2007 as OC or whatever the case may be. When he took over as head coach in 2010 and started slapping together these amazing recruiting classes, 2010, 2011, 2012. Sure, they were giant. They were 30 people deep. But when you look down the list, it was just like this here. He would get guys, it didn't matter if they're from Florida, where they're from, he'd get them across the country. But every single one of them, if he was wasting his time, if he was bringing one of these guys across the board, you would look, number 1 in their state. They'd be top 5 of their state or number 1, top 5 of their position. Across the board. It didn't matter if they came from New Jersey, Now, towards the end, you started getting your JJ Cosentinos, and I won't list the people that didn't work out. But when he was killing it, this is the level he recruited on. Studs out of Florida or top guys from across the nation. And you would look at a class, he'd have the number 1 DN, the number 3 DN, the number 1 tackle, the number 4 tackle, and it'd all be from different states and things. So I love what he's doing, and that's a bit of a trend I caught looking, going through my notes, getting ready to do today's show. And when you look at high school players, I broke down the top 100. I only did the top 4 states. But this is no surprise, okay? We all know the size of Florida, Georgia, Texas, and Alabama. The state of Florida has 17 players in the top 100. 17. That's pretty big. But is that enough to go around for Florida, Florida State, Miami, and then Georgia reach in, and then Alabama reach in? No, it's just not. You've got to get out. So we go next. Georgia. That's our second most heavily recruited state. 12 players in the top 100. Pretty fancy. Up next, Texas. 16 players in the top 100. And, of course, Texas is 10 Floridas, 2 Californias, whatever the case you want to be. I lied. I left California off here because we just don't do a lot out there. The very last one, though, is Alabama. You know how many top 100 players are in the state of Alabama? 8. So, the guys out of Enterprise, Alabama, losing to Keldrick Falk. I don't know if we're even trying with Caleb Falk. It's hard. It's really hard to pull these guys out of Alabama. If you can get one of these number 1, number 2, number 3 guys, and you really have a chance, you'll fight and get them. But outside of that, it's not worth spending too much time over there. But as far as Texas, Georgia, Florida, you can pretty much recruit those states and get everything you need. So him being from Texas and making these inroads, pushing over west, grabbing top players out of Texas, I have absolutely no problem with it. But I thought people would enjoy that little breakdown there of kind of where kids come from. People think Florida, they know Florida's one of the top schools. They know California, Texas, but you just don't realize when you look at the per capita, it's Florida, Georgia, and then a giant gap in everybody else. Even Texas and California, there's a giant gap just because when you see they have one less player and 10 times the damn space.
Mm-hmm.
But that's about it. I've about ran my plan for the show out. We are sitting here at 1 hour and 5 minutes and 34 seconds. I'm going to turn it over to Jen. If you have anything on your mind that I have left off thus far, and I'm going to put the graphic for the banner on the bottom. If you have any questions, callers, now's the time. I didn't give y'all much time today, but if you do have any questions before we get out of here in the next 5-10 minutes, now is the time to do that. I know you didn't put your thing on times too. I'm just working on my radio jockey voice, trying to talk fast, do all these things for you guys. We love you. This is the Renegade Report. We've got Deshawn. We've got Santi. Y'all are the shit. We're the shit. Florida State's going to the College World Series. Second game of the loser bracket. Go ahead, Jen.
No, I think tomorrow we have the roast, and we have the Wild Ute on tomorrow. So this will be so fun. And I already know who I'm going after. Number one, I haven't gotten the approval from Tiny Hat yet, but I'm guessing he's going to be right on my board.
Do you want to talk about it, or do you want to save it completely for the roast?
Oh, I can talk about it right now. It's Mackenzie Melton. He is number one in my book. Like, I am so over that MFer. I don't care. I had to sit there and lie to people and be like, oh, wow, this is such a good decision. Go Knowles. While he walked or hobbled out onto that field and tried to start games for us, are you joking with me? I can't. I'm not doing it.
Yeah, it seems like he pops up and posts shit to dig at Florida State fans passive aggressively, knowing exactly what he's doing with his timing of shit. He thinks it's funny, it's cute and stuff, but Florida State was not in the mood for the joking. Oh, you're part of the enemy.
I remember
had it, and I loved it. It was funny.
I remember when that one-legged quarterback wanted to run the collective. That's what I remember. And now he's a grad assistant having to suffer with a job next to Josh Heupel, who treats his employees like shit. Everybody knows it. He can't keep coaches on his damn staff. And again, I don't want to say anything, but for that man to do that in that moment was so ingracious. It was so gross. It was so ridiculous. I don't care if you're a grad assistant at University of Tennessee. You'll be somewhere else in 3 months. Nobody gives a shit. You don't care about that team. This was on purpose.
That grad assistant money.
This was on purpose. He did it on purpose to get his impressions up, and I guess he got what he wanted because nobody gives a shit about Mackenzie Melton outside of Florida State fans whenever he says anything. UCF fans wrote his ass off a long time ago. So again, and University of Tennessee fans could care less who's holding Josh Heupel's clipboard. Nobody cares. Nobody cares, dude. You are over. You are done. Good luck. You had one fan base that was behind you to help you get jobs if you ever wanted one. And now guess what? Tennessee doesn't help what's his name? T. Martin get jobs. Okay. They hate his guts. And they're the only reason that those MFers won a national championship in 1998. They don't care about you. They don't care about T. Martin. You are a grad assistant who is holding Josh Heupel's clipboard. How dare you? You had one fan base that was still behind you. One. And you just blew it.
Boom. If you
enjoy answering phones at whatever car lot you're going to be on next year, MF or whatever State Farm office you're selling insurance from, jerk.
Well, if you didn't know Mackenzie, now you do know. Moving on to the next subject.
Welcome.
Somebody put it in the chat. Tom Fernelli, my favorite little pudgy fucker, man. He, throughout the season, he would get on my nerves with little things, passive aggressive things against Jordan Travis or against our defense. Miami's going to do all this and all this stuff. But then, when the games would happen, you'd watch Cover 2, which shouts out to Bud Elliott, Danny Cannell, Tom Fernelli, and the last guy. I don't want to mess up his name, so I'm not even going to say it. What's his name?
I don't know.
Skip something. But long story short, it's like, I didn't realize. after we killed Miami and just completely locked down Restrepo, he's like, yeah, Restrepo wasn't even in the game. They're like, what? No. He was there. He just got his ass ripped. But the guy's a Minnesota fan. He's a Big Ten apologist. One of these guys, he like roots for all these weird little schools and has all these snarky comebacks about, stuff. He had a big thing about Florida State's snub and them not going on. He said in his words that it was softer than baby shit. For Florida State players to sit out of the Orange Bowl. Well, our guy Ingram Smith obliterated him to the effect of for somebody who's the highest level of football was probably like JV as a senior.
Really? You'd give him JV?
Shout out to Ingram Smith for that one because, man, he really, he was bad. At the end, Tom Fornelli literally, he said, can you please DM me so we can talk? After talking shit, he thought he was going, can you DM me please so I can straighten things out?
It's like, straighten what out? Here's the deal. Look, Tom Fornelli, I wouldn't even give him JV status. I would give him, he didn't make the first cut on the freshman team status. That's his haterade that he wears around his neck. That's why he likes those smaller teams. Because nobody gives a shit and he doesn't have to prove his points when he makes them with these smaller teams, right? He's also a Miami fan. He loves to get on the Miami bandwagon and then owns nothing when he's wrong every year. He is the quintessential meteorologist, Sports Center anchor, CNN anchor, MSNBC anchor that lies 24/7 and fails up, okay? Meteorologists will predict tornadoes, snowstorms, whatever, and they fail up. They go to the Weather Channel after completely getting your weather wrong at home for 6 to 7 years. Nobody cares. Tom Fornelli is that person. That's who he is. And anybody else who's predicted Miami wins is that same person, by the way. They're the same person and they fail up. Yeah. And look at you go.
I just add this. I say these are the type of people that can dictate and create narratives about programs. No experience. A lot of them didn't even play ball at any level, yet alone JV. Some know the game. I'm not taking that away from them. They understand some of the inner workings and outside kind of politics, let's put it that way. But yeah, what that guy said was just bullshit, and it's the typical stuff. And it's an example of what media can feed the narrative of negativity. So the only thing soft as baby shit, in my opinion, is him. So it is what it is.
And then removing his own tweet. I think that's pretty soft as well. Yeah. Say it with your chest, buddy. Say it with your whole chest. I say some off the wall crap, and I got to stand by it. I don't like to all the time, and I might have to sit there with like wish I hadn't gone there, but hell, I'm going to stand on business with it. I mean, I might have an excuse later, but I'm going to still do it in the moment. And to just delete something like that after just, good God, like begging Ingram, which, we love Ingram. Good for you, Ingram. I love that you got him like in that way. I love every minute of it. I don't know. That just is, ugh. That is for the Gen Zers, that's what you would call cringe right there. That was cringe on so many levels.
It doesn't get any more cringe than that.
Like him saying, DM me so we can talk. Oh my God. I have secondhand embarrassment for you. And then you took down the tweet. Like it's yikes. That's some beta male stuff. Good for Ingram for being an alpha. That's what I would say.
Well, when they stare the hornet's nest, and you're not just gonna get one hornet, you're getting them all. So that's why he took it down.
Yeah, Ingram showed him who the alpha was. Good for you, dog. Like I love it. Good for you.
Facts. We're at 1 hour and 15 minutes, guys. If you don't have any questions, you don't have to call, but the number is on the bottom of the screen. If you have any questions, speak now or forever hold your peace, as we have about another 3 or 4 minutes left. One last thing I do want to talk about. Another guy who pissed me off. It wasn't a hateful thing, but still, it's just somebody in a position with a platform to speak on something that just, I don't know, it just doesn't look good for Florida State. It seems like a shot. It's like a passive aggressive thing. To me, the comment was just like it's like an excuse. It's like a way to make your program look better than it is. And that's the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills get Keon Coleman. They draft him. They do all these things. He's the man. You're, putting murals up, all these good things. All the celebrities are coming to see him. It's that. Well, then they get into a conversation. I don't know exactly what precipitated it, yada, yada. But they got, how's Keon Coleman doing so far? Well, it was just, he didn't say anything out of the way when you're talking about, well, he could probably learn a little bit better on blocking, NFL playbook. He's got a lot to learn, yada, yada, yada. But when he gets done with all that, he basically says, well, it's just, obviously not there at the physicality. It's a different level. We're asking him to block, and I don't know how much they actually ask him to do that. Is old school. Basically, just shitting all over FSU's program without so many words, with just no knowledge. It's just clear that the fucking guy doesn't know anything about Ron Dugans as a coach or what Florida State does. Because when it comes to blocking and the wide receiver position, Florida State's one of the best. It's something they really prioritize. It's a big deal, but the guy was only a senior-year transfer. So, yeah, there are things there. He needs help, but it's not because he didn't get coached up at Florida State and stuff. And he probably didn't anything by it. But it's just a natural thing that people do to get themselves off the hook. They do this thing. Well, he was less than when he got here. But I think he'll be just fine blocking going forward. And there's so many subtle digs like that with FSU and the staff.
I don't think it was about FSU.
How narrative gets started, and go ahead, dude.
I don't think it was about FSU. I think the Buffalo Bills have been known as the Florida State Bills for a long time. That program has a very tight connection with the football program at Florida State. I think I do not believe this was digs at Florida State. I think that was digs at Michigan State and how he showed up at Florida State, because that was a problem with Keon Coleman at Florida State, was the blocking and the other things. Correct? Am I wrong? Yes, that is true. This was a dig at Mel Tucker. The Buffalo coach, from what I hear, has some sort of issue with the former coach at Michigan State. That's where I would say that dig comes from. I don't think it was at Florida State, but that could just be me.
Yeah, and again, he didn't make a dig at anybody. It's just the way you say it. Everybody knows he came from Florida State. I totally agree. Like, that's what we were just talking about. Like, it's more Michigan State, but just these coaches, when they say shit to get them off the hook, they just say stuff, with not knowledge of like what's going on and stuff. So it's like, it's just infuriating that they don't. It is what it is. I'm probably just bitching for no reason. No different than the umpires on the baseball game today. There's just such a wanting to show that you know better than somebody else. Oh, that was clearly a ball. That was definitely. What did he say? Did he say it was a strike or a ball?
We don't want to get me started on the
That was a strike. How can you miss that call? That's a strike. They show the replay. It's like literally 2 inches outside, huge wide in between. Obviously a ball. And they go back and what do you got to say now? Oh, it's off the plate, but that's a strike in college baseball. That should be a strike in college baseball. Holy shit! And then they're showing the replay of the swing, and it's not even the third baseline. They're overhead, and they show clearly the dude went past 3 feet past his hit. All these things. Oh yeah, but it's a 50-50 call. Like, what? There's a 50-50 call there. There's inadvertible freaking evidence that was definitely he swung by the rules. They had the rule up there and still argued with it. According to the MLB,
if the bat reaches the top of the plate, it's a swing. I don't know what else to tell you. I don't know how to. And he followed it through. By the way, we're not even talking about that he stopped on live TV. He followed it through and then stopped. This was a mid-stop. It was a strike. I don't want to hear anything else about it. I'm over. Look, Tennessee fans tried to take down my Twitter, and all y'all did was make me more money. So thank you for that. By the way, I love every minute of it. I mean, my impressions went up so much in 2 days, and I barely had to do a thing. Amazing, right? Like, can you believe it? But all y'all did was make me more money. So thank you guys. I mean, maybe get cable TV. Have some fun. I don't know.
That's right. According to the chat, Zach Blostein is reporting, I guess, that maybe the Marion Dye visit is off. So we'll see there.
We'll see.
Hopefully not, because that dude is definitely a freak.
Yes.
Would love to get him on campus, and I know Deshawn would for sure.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see.
Well, guys, I think we've done pretty damn good job. Have made it to the promised land. We love you guys. Go Noles. It's all about Florida State football and a little bit of baseball now. With my amazing co-host, as always, Jen Santee. Go find her at Jen Santee 1890 on X. At Deshawn Adams 18. You can do the same thing. Find him there, as well as right here on YouTube at Double D's Let's Talk About It. We will be back here live tomorrow for the Renegade Roast with Jen, like I told you. So be here, 9:15 Eastern. It's going to be Jen, Tiny Hat, and the Utah Ute. You can catch him over on College Football Mafia, and he does, he goes out and does all kind of fun shows. I won't make any comments. He's a good guy, but y'all will like him, especially certain women in the audience and stuff. But we'll have him on. We'll be back Wednesday on the Voice of College Football, like we are every week. We'll be back for a Tuesday episode Friday. What do you guys have going on? Do y'all have anything planned for? You're gonna have your regular show on Thursday, or what do y'all got going on?
For me, we'll do our show Double D's Let's Talk Ball podcast on Mondays, and on Fridays is when you'll see us. And then look down the line for some other things that we're working on, also involving gaming and fan interaction.
I seen
so
something.
Deshawn, do you guys? I'm sorry, I may be dumb, but like, do y'all just record or do you guys go live?
We typically record. We've done one live show. We're going to start doing more lives, just to get acclimated doing things that way. And then we got some things coming down where we're going to start involving gaming involved in our shows, as far as with the sports and stuff too. So. Not to let everything out of the bag, but those are things that we're working on. I've been working on it.
Boom. You heard it here first. So stay tuned. All kinds of fun stuff as we kind of get our act together. I get my act together. We're really going to be kicking it into gear the next couple weeks, especially next week with the recruiting that's going on. So these shows, stick around. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm planning on doing a lot of shorter videos too. We might start going live for commitments and things like that. Like I eat off this. This is what I do full time. I eat my meal off this podcast. We appreciate everybody out there, all the members, all the subscribers, Jen, Deshawn, Chris, James, over at Spear Addicts and Den Media Group, everybody that's helped me along the way. We love you guys, and we will see you guys tomorrow on the Renegade Roast. Go Noles, baby.
Hi, guys.
Go Noles.